Welcome to this video. We got another one here about Trudeau. We've never talked about him before on this channel. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. After all, I do have my fish hat on, but I'm going to watch a clip that somebody sent to me. I haven't watched it yet. So it'd be interesting to see sort of a bit of a live reaction as to what's going on here. I think by the title already, I have an idea where this is going, but let's give it a play and see what's going on here. This is Justin Trudeau. I believe it was yesterday, coming out of what appears to be a federal cabinet meeting, and he's responding to questions about China and the protests going on there.
Listen, Canadians are watching very closely. Obviously, everyone in China should be allowed to express themselves, should be allowed to share their perspectives.
Express themselves and share their perspectives. Interesting.
And indeed protest. We're going to continue to ensure that China knows we'll stand up for human rights, we'll stand with people who are expressing themselves. We also need to make sure that China and places around the world are respecting journalists and their ability to do their job. We'll continue to make that very clear.
So, interesting. I laugh because when I look at Trudeau, I don't see an authentic bone in his body, in the way he expresses himself today. What I mean by that is, like, I think every human has a capability of being true to themselves and being authentic. And I feel like Trudeau is just such a performer. And I know people joke all the time about how he was a drama teacher and so on and so forth. And I get that. And that may very well have primed him very well to be a politician, which is very performative. But it's just wild watching his body language, how just, there's nothing about him that seems real. It's really fascinating. But of course, there's the question of, I'm going to stand with, or Canadians will stand with, people who are trying to express their voices, share their voices. And obviously this is a play on, this is probably why this person sent me the clip. It was a play on, the Freedom Convoy and how, he obviously didn't stand with the voices of those people, and he condemned so much of that. And I believe even at the Emergencies Act inquiry that just completed, he even said that he never said anything mean or rude or called names to any of the unvaccinated people or protesters in the country, which obviously was a lie. I mean, we can play the clip here if you want to see it.
I did not call people who were unvaccinated names.
Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui ne croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes.
And what I find interesting about this is, like, obviously the Freedom Convoy affected him. It affected his, ego in a way. And therefore he was very quick to just attack anybody who was doing that. And yes, you can have, it's almost like he's saying, yes, you can have your voice heard, but we're going to, basically freeze your bank accounts and ruin your livelihood and make sure you get fired from your job. And so it's like, sure, is your voice being heard? Maybe sort of. You might also get censored off the face of the internet, but your voice is heard, but you have all these repercussions. And yet he's saying in China they'll stand behind the people. It's again, to me, it's perplexing. I mean, this is what politics is, though, and I find the more that I show clips and this type of commentary to people, they're not surprised anymore. I think it's 2022, almost 2023. Vast majority of people know that corruption is a huge part of politics. It's a huge part of big business. I find the general population of people, even though I think sometimes people may not want to admit that, but the general population of people knows that corruption is a big part of what's going on in our world. But I think what people run into when they see stuff like this, and they note that, oh yeah, Trudeau is like whatever, blah, blah, blah. They go, okay, well, what are my other options anyway? Some people will just say, okay, I can vote for another politician, get them in power. But the same nonsense is going to occur. Let's get real. And so I think what ends up happening is I see a lot, almost like this drop in people's shoulders, like when you ask them, okay, well, what are you going to do, or what can we do? And it's just like, there's this feeling like I can do nothing. We don't have another option. We don't know what else we can do. Sure, you can vote for somebody else. You can get rid of Trudeau, but honestly, Trudeau's not the first problem Canada's had. Biden's not the first problem that the United States have had. It's a system. It's an underlying challenge that we have. And I actually almost think it's it's very interesting to observe how quickly people will believe, for example, that, well, if Ron DeSantis, for example, were to run in the United States, that would just like save the US. That's a very fascinating sort of observation to see that level of like, well, it's just another politician, even though we've had decades of proof that it has nothing to do with who's in power and almost everything to do with the underlying systems and the unelected governments and sort of shadow governments, as they call it, deep state governments, as we've talked about for so long. You know, these are people behind the scenes that are unelected, that have huge influence over politicians. And yet we're almost baited into just attacking the politicians all the time, as opposed to looking at the larger system at hand and seeing the issue that exists there. And I almost wonder sometimes, because I know, you know, like this clip was done by the Post Millennial. It's a very conservative outlet here in Canada. And I almost wonder, and I've said this for a very long time, whether you know, getting caught up in this left versus right, this conservative media, like, you know, you look at Rebel News and what they're doing, and it is super conservative, right? I'm not a huge fan of the nature by which they go about their content. I think there's value in everybody's content. Everybody has some signal. They're doing something good. But generally, when you're stoking this left-right war, you're actually distracting from the actual issue, which is the larger sort of shadow government that's behind the scenes. You get the population attached to going after and attacking Trudeau constantly, as opposed like assuming that just Pierre Poilievre is going to save the day, right? But it's like, is he really going to, or is it just going to be part of the same problem, the same deals, the same backroom deals, the same corporate influence over government that we've seen forever? And I think until this stuff comes to a head and we start seeing this more clearly, I don't know how we're going to build good and meaningful solutions. There's like some heavy rain coming in outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's raining hard. But generally, I think that's the way I think about this kind of stuff. That's the way I look at this kind of stuff is I think we need to increase our ability to look at what's behind the systems, the meta crises behind the challenges that we face today, whether it's the shadow governments, whether it's our getting caught up in the left-right politics dynamic, the attacking politicians. I've done a few experiments on social media over the last little while asking, people, here's a clip of Trudeau. How would you respond to him purely with facts? No name calling, no this, no that. And I'll get hundreds of comments, and literally nobody, maybe like one or two comments out of the hundreds, will be responding with an actual fact to his argument. And to me, it often reveals that people that are watching and that are hating on these guys, they don't really understand how they would even meaningfully move forward. They don't have a solution in their mind. They may not have a complete understanding of the challenges that we have, or they may not have an understanding of why exactly, vaccines or vaccine mandates might be bad. They know how to say, well, it's just a death shot. It's just a claw shot. It's just a death jab, which, to be honest with you, that's not a whole lot of meaning in just being able to say that. How can you express this? How can you communicate this to other people? And, I often think this like memeing journalism and this attacking journalism is actually producing a population that's not well informed. And some of the experiments that I've run have kind of revealed that to me. Again, do I like this clip? Yeah, I mean, it reveals to me the absolute hypocrite that is Trudeau, that is virtually every politician out there that has risen to the level of prime minister or a powerful governor or powerful premier in any particular state or province. This is not new. This has been going on forever. Trudeau's certainly the flavor of the month, but I think it's the underlying systems that we do need to bring attention to and do need to raise awareness about. I encourage you to go check out the Collective Evolution podcast. It's a podcast that I've brought back into the fold. I've been spending a lot of my time on that. I've done, I think, about 6 or 7 episodes now that are foundational, that have these deeper conversations that get us to understand sort of the meta crises at hand. There will be a link in the description. Go check it out. And just a reminder, everybody, I'm wearing a shirt that says Reconnect. I don't know if you can see that here, but I know there's about 750 people or so doing the 5 Days of You challenge that I've put together, which is all about getting back into your body, getting back into the relationship with your body. By all means, it's not too late to join that challenge. There'll be a link in the description for that as well. But being connected with our bodies, being connected with ourselves in a meaningful way, and engaging with news and information and media and tracking how it makes us feel is going to allow us to be more grounded as we navigate information and feel our emotions and process anger and go through these different things. And the whole point of the challenge was to help people focus a little bit more deeply on how to set their pulse, which is, you know, a big part of our work as we try and link transformation with exploration of current events. Because if we're not transforming as people, we're just going to create the same problems over and over and over again in our societies. Our societies are generally just a reflection of our collective state of being, our collective state of thinking, our collective worldviews. Those worldviews can change and shift as we become more in tune with ourselves. And that's essentially the idea. So that's it. That's all. Let me know your comments below about, what you think of this clip, but also maybe some commentary on what your thoughts are. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much.